So my friends, what is the very best indicator for trading? This is one of the most frequently asked questions from beginners. I'm already a bit tired of answering it, so in today's episode, we're going to settle this topic once and for all. You'll find out what to use, when to use it, what to combine it with, how to mix things up, and how to avoid mistakes. If you're a beginner and looking for the answer to this question, then this video is the holy grail for you. Be sure to watch until the end, and you'll get all the answers to your questions. Let's get started. So what's next? We're going to trade using two different but very useful indicators together. First of all, of course, we set up our working time frame. That's 3 minutes. Pay attention, we specifically need a 3-minute chart. Our first indicator is the Supertrend. Its periods are 9 and 3. And the second tool is the stochastic oscillator. You all know it very well. The period is 12. And for the moving average type, please note it's EMA. I've tweaked its appearance a bit. It's all a matter of personal preference. You can do whatever you like here. So, what now? Let's figure out the signals. Look, this is the most important part. Everything is clear and simple with the Supertrend. It gives us the signals itself. Sell means to sell and buy means to buy. Red and green lines. Everything is clear and simple. Of course, you can't get very far without additional indicators, which is why we use the stochastic oscillator. Look, the very important zones are below and above its central channel. The oversold and overbought zones. What do they mean? Oversold means a peak in selling. And when the indicator leaves the oversold zone, a reversal usually begins. Look, right here it matches the chart perfectly. The price stopped and bounced at that moment. There was a short-term rise, right? Exactly. Then we went down to the next oversold zone. These sections of the stochastic are a red flag, a danger zone, but they don't always work. We'll go over this more during the trading process. Here we had a truly perfect situation. The Supertrend gives a signal to rise when its red line is broken. That was oversold even earlier. We were waiting for a reversal with you. Let me draw it in. Another advantage of the stochastic is that it's faster. This is our additional signal. Yes, by the way, it also has two lines. A green line on top means there should be growth. Although, I have to admit, this moment wasn't the best example. So let's trade this combination, which sometimes even manages to conflict with itself. You'll see all of this on a new currency pair. Let's go. So friends, the first situation is an opportunity for a good trade. We're going long. Let's break down the whole situation right away. Earlier, there was an exit from the oversold zone. We lightly touched the overbought area, and now, right in the middle of the stochastic, we're moving upward. On the chart, this is reflected by a rebound that slowed down a bit, pulled back, and is about to enter the overbought zone again. By the way, the green band on our stochastic is on top, so everything looks great on the micro scale. Don't forget about the second indicator, the Supertrend. Everything is also good with it. The buy signal was given a while ago. Notice how unsuccessful it was at that moment, right? That is, right after the buy signal, there was a downward rebound. That's why, without supporting indicators, the Supertrend is useless, and it might even be a bit dangerous. We'll start our discussion of indicators today with it, or rather, with its category. These are trend-following indicators. This is an algorithm that allows us to determine the direction of price movement accordingly. A brief pause, friends. The trade is in profit. Excellent. For now, I'll stay on the same chart. I'm not changing it precisely because there's a signal from the Supertrend. It remains in long. We might open another position. The indicator has recently signaled this trend to us, which is why we're trading it. Let's continue, okay? Let's clarify. The trend has started, yes, we're at the beginning. At the same time, before we reach overbought conditions, right here, we still have some room. I think the price will reverse at about this level. It might be a little higher or lower, but our reference point is the stochastic. As long as the oscillator gives us signals for growth, we follow it. Right now, we're talking specifically about trend indicators. These include the Supertrend, all types of moving averages, the parabolic SAR, Ichimoku clouds, and many others. Obviously, they're good for indicating trends and also for confirming changes in price movement. But they have a very serious drawback. Friends, they lag behind. All trend indicators lag, and I just showed you this in the previous trade. The trend had already changed, but the indicator was only just starting to let us know about it. As a result, we'll end up entering unfavorable positions if we use only trend indicators. So what's next? Let's lock in another profitable trade and we can already start getting ready to open the next one. Notice that we're already at the overbought boundary. That's not surprising, considering the size of the last candle. Agreed. That's why oscillators are faster indicators that show us when the market is overheated, but they're almost useless during a strong trend. Let's take another long trade. I'm opening almost, right at the peak. The stochastic is overheated, but the price could still go up for one more candle. Let's take a look at what's happening with the price in general terms. This is also very important. You can draw a trend line. By the way, it matches the super trend perfectly. At the bottom, we had a reversal, a smooth stop. We stopped falling and turned around, right? Of course, in such a situation, an oscillator that's used to a downtrend will immediately go into overbought territory. That's normal. Moreover, during a decline, it will almost always be in the oversold zone. So using them individually only makes sense in a sideways market, where prices really do often reverse from level to level. And that's it. But if we currently have a more interesting emerging trend movement, then the oscillator will most likely become just a reference, almost useless algorithm. So let's see. We basically come to the conclusion that we need to use combinations of indicators, not each one separately. All right? Friends, well, the trade is in profit. Nevertheless, things aren't as rosy as we'd like. A reversal is quite possible. We'll look for a new pair. Let's not tempt fate. Well, I think you're already starting to understand just how naive the question about the best indicator really is. Unfortunately, beginners not only don't know how to use all this, but they don't even understand where to find truly valuable and truthful information. I believe that an important aspect in a trader's development is communicating with more experienced people. Fortunately for you, I run my own Telegram channel, and I'll leave the links in the description of this video. Without further ado, friends, if you want to understand trading and receive up-to-date, truly valuable information, go ahead and subscribe. There, every day I share my own experience with you, as well as various tips and tricks that I use on a regular basis. Plus, you'll be able to trade with me in different projects, earn your first capital, gain experience, and chat with me personally. Go ahead and subscribe. I'm waiting for you. And now, let's do an experiment. I'm entering the market during a clear decline. Here we have a conflict of indicators. Look, first of all, we need to point out the breakout of this level, which coincides exactly with the super trend's sell signal, right? That's right. Everything seems clear. There's a reversal of the assets, a strong, confident breakout by the sellers. But, in fact, we have a channel with a successful breakout downward. But the stochastic is oversold. I admit that this trade might end up in a loss precisely because of this, since we entered when the stochastic was oversold. In other words, there is actually no clear trend here, and the price really dropped sharply. That's why this oscillator signal should have been taken into account. There won't be any continuation, but my goal today is to show you exactly how they work. Right now, we're figuring out who's telling the truth, the supertrend or the oversold stochastic. And apparently the oscillator wins here. Yes, friends, we're closing the trade at a loss. It's not a big deal. Now I'll switch to another asset and make up for it. We're experimenting again, and again we're ignoring the oscillator, although I'm sure that this time it's justified. So, look, our stochastic is now overbought, but we're not taking it into account for a number of reasons. Here, again, we trust the super trend because we have a significant breakout of this key level. This is much stronger than what we saw in the previous currency pair. So there's no question of any overheating here. We're in a breakout at a very strong level of an established uptrend. Let me remind you that when there's a trend, oscillators are practically useless. Look, right here. We had oversold conditions, and what happened to the price? Let's just align these sections and draw a conclusion. The asset kept falling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trades that we missed. That's how oversold and overbought conditions work when an asset is really rising or really falling. When there's a trend, the oscillator is useless. Now we have the ending. We close the trade with a profit. Let's switch the chart to something more interesting. I decided to try my luck with the dollar to Canadian again. I recently entered here at a loss, but surprisingly, the asset didn't go up. It stayed right where it was. Since that's the case, let's give the super trend a second chance. The stochastic, of course, is still oversold. That's normal. But since there's no growth, that means there will be a decline. Maybe we're at the beginning of a stage where there's a very smooth, gradual decline downward. We'll know the truth in a minute. And now I realize that in this situation, we're really missing a volume indicator, my friends. Unfortunately, they're not available in the terminal, but this is exactly where they could have given us a clue. This is a special category that counts the number and scale of trades that are currently open. With their help, you can assess the pressure from buyers, the pressure from sellers, and understand who actually dominates, and simply follow the whales. By the way, you can also use this to spot divergences. All of this deserves a separate video, so we won't go into detail now. The trade is done, and I'm smoothly moving on to preparing for the final part of the series. Let's go. So my friends, this is just the perfect trade within the framework of today's strategy. No conflicts, complete indicator harmony. Let's break it down. This is pure gold, a real treat for my eyes. Look, first of all, we have a green super trend, an obvious signal for growth, so we take that as our basis. Its line is a clear boundary of support. You get it? Right? I'm already starting to ramble. And the green line on the stochastic indicator is also on top for us. It's a signal, even if not the strongest one. And also the 20 zone on the stochastic acts as a support line. So we just have a quiet, peaceful sideways movement and two aligned signals. We just wait for the profit, friends. That's how, you see, by combining indicators, you can take great profits from the market. Individual indicators, to be honest with you, honestly, no one uses them separately. But you also shouldn't clutter up your trading terminal with them. 2 or 3 indicators that you know how to use on those types of markets you've already seen. The result? That's it. Everything else we practice on a demo account. Our trade is in profit. Everything is just excellent. Let's sum up. Well, as you've realized, unfortunately, there is no perfect indicator. Everyone would like to have a golden button, but such a thing simply doesn't exist. Otherwise, this wouldn't be our craft. When getting started, friends, begin with 2 or 3 indicators, no more. There's no need to take on everything at once. Pick 2 or 3 interesting ones that you like and start getting to know them. Record all the work you've done, and I assure you, in a month, you will definitely achieve results. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and write in the comments what topics you'd like to see in new videos. To be honest, I'm starting to run out of ideas a little. It was great to see you all. See you on my channel. Bye.